apostasy. So this affair should be very clearly understood, because the issue is not light. The issue of mockery of the religion is not light, and it is very, very easy for a person to fall into it. The reason why it's disbelief is because it comes back down to the issue of making ta'zeem of Allah, ta'zeem of what He revealed. Ta'zeem is veneration. To venerate something in the hearts, and this type of mockery is something which can't exist side by side with veneration in the heart. I'm going to give you an example. If one of you was to mock and deride your own mother, for example, then that mockery and derision and disdain and belittlement can't exist side by side in your heart with respect and veneration for your mother. And so this is the nature of this type of mockery and derision of the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. It's something that it simply cannot exist side by side with veneration, respect of Allah Azza wa Jal and the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. So the only reason why this can take place is because there is something corrupt in the heart, and the heart is in ruins. And this is something explained by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. The Shaykh mentions a quote from Shaykh al-Islam, the meaning of which is, he paraphrases, حَقِيقَةُ الْكُفْرِ خَرَابُ الْقَلْبِ. The reality of disbelief is the ruin of the heart, or the corruption of the heart. Shaykh al-Islam's actual words are as follows: أَنَّ الْكُفْرِ فَسَادُ الْقَلْبِ وَالْرُوحِ. That disbelief, what is disbelief? Disbelief is the corruption or the ruin of the heart and the soul. The heart and the soul. This is the nature of disbelief. The heart is ruined and the soul is ruined. And it is why these actions or these statements emanate from such a heart and such a soul. These actions of disbelief, like mockery of the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now the Shaykh then goes on to mention the next part: anyone who mocks anything from the deen, أو ثواب الله أو عقابه كفر. Right? So Islam has come with rewards and punishments. And there are some people who might not necessarily mock the actual actions of the religion itself. Like, for example, we have prayer, we have growing the beard, we have the hijab. But they will mock the rewards which are specified for certain actions, or the punishments which are specified for certain actions. That's why Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Abdul Wahhab mentioned three things here. He mentioned the deen itself, and anything which is from the deen, and then rewards which Islam has come with, has mentioned them, or punishments which Islam has come with their mention. Right? So some people, they might mock people who adhere to the Sunnah and mock the rewards that these people are trying to pursue, or mock the punishment that these people are trying to keep away from. Right? So now they're making mockery of the action indirectly, but they're making mockery of the actual rewards and the punishments which are specified. Such people who fall into this, they are disbelievers by consensus, by ijma'. This is disbelief. Now, the Shaykh then goes on to mention an important point here now, which we need to understand very, very clearly. He says that this mockery of the religion, it makes no difference whether you did it out of jest. For example, you don't really intend to mock, you're just playing around, for example. Or whether you do it intently and on purpose, right? Or whether you do it for money, for example, right? We need to distinguish between. Let me give you an example to illustrate the point. So imagine you have a Muslim who is, let's say he's doing a theatrical play, for example, And in this play, there's a scene in which he has to, for example, make mockery of Islam, or he has to belittle the Quran, or something along those lines, right? So, from his point of view, he's not deliberately intending to mock the religion, because what he's doing, he's employed to do a job, right? He's getting paid to do a job. But so it makes no difference whether he's doing it for money, not for money, for a jest or whatever, for acting or whatever, it makes no difference. What counts is, did he express those words with intent, and without being compelled, without being forced? But he said those words knowing those words constitute mockery, right? So in this case, this person would be a disbeliever, right? Irrespective, just because he's acting and doing a show and performing, he's performing, right? You can say that it's not really his actions, but actually it is, right? Because you've done that deed with knowledge that it is mockery, right? So what counts is, you do something which constitutes mockery, and you actually willfully chose your action. You willfully chose your action, right? Now let's distinguish that between, for example, a person who is drunk, right? A Muslim, he's taken some drugs, for example, or he's drunk alcohol, doesn't know what he's saying, and he just starts making some remarks about the religion, right? This person now, he's not in control of his faculties, he does not know what he's saying, even though what he's saying is mockery of the religion. So these two people are not the same. This person, his intent is not really present because his mind is befogged, right? He's not really thinking about what he's saying, and he's not choosing his actions because he's under the influence. Whereas the first person I mentioned, even though his motive, what's his motive? His motive is money, right? The motive does not count what the motive is. What counts is, you said what you said with knowledge of what you said, and you chose to say it, right? You chose to say it. No one threatened this man, in the example of the theatre and acting. No one threatened him with violence. If you don't, he willfully chose to do the action with knowledge of what it entails, right? So that is disbelief. As for what the motive might be, for some people the motive might be it's part of the job to make money. For some people it might be to please non-Muslims. For some people it might be whatever the motive is. It makes no difference, right? The motive can be different. It can be varied, right? What counts is you chose to say what you said, and you knew that it constituted a mockery. So once that is clear, we now come to the actual verse itself, the background to the revelation of the verse itself. So the verse was revealed about a group of people on the expedition of Tabuk. Right, this was towards the end of the period in Medina, and the Ghazwa of Tabuk, and they were sitting in a gathering, these people, while they were with the Messenger of Allah and the army, but they were just sitting in a gathering, and one of them began to say that we've never seen a group of people who are more greedy, meaning like eager to fill their bellies with food, and greater in telling lies, and more cowardly when it comes to fighting, when it comes to meeting the enemy, right? And what they were meaning by this is the Messenger of Allah and his companions. They were mocking the Messenger and his companions. So in this gathering there was a companion by the name of Auf bin Malik radiallahu anhu. Auf bin Malik radiallahu anhu, just a young boy, a youth from amongst the Ansar. So he said to the man who said this, there's one man and a group of others, and Auf bin Malik is there. So he said to this man that you are a liar and you are a hypocrite, and I'm going to tell the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he went and he told the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but before he managed to get to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, revelation had already come down to the Messenger about what that person had said in that gathering. And so when he got to the Messenger of Allah and told him the verse, was revealed, that we mentioned at the beginning of that was mentioned in the principle. And when those people found out, or when that man found out about this verse, he ran to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he tried to plead, tried to grab hold of the reins of the riding beast, of the camel, and he was saying, "O Messenger of Allah, innama kunna nakhudu wa nal'ab." We were just playing around. We were just fooling around. All we were doing was we were doing speech that you would normally do on a journey, just to remove the weariness and the tiresomeness of the journey. We're just trying to kill time and have some amusement, and just to kill off the effects of the journey. That's all it was, like people do. And so the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he continued riding, didn't turn at him at all, didn't pay any attention to him at all, and he said nothing apart from repeating this verse. And in this verse, وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ لَيَقُولُنَّ إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ. If you were to ask them, they would say, we were just playing around and we were just jesting and joking. Say, is it in Allah and His signs and His messenger that you were mocking? Do not make any excuses, for you have disbelieved after your faith. لَا تَعْتَذِرُوا فَقَدْ كَفَرْتُمْ بَعْدَ إِيمَانِكُمْ. So you can see that there's a number of important things from this whole incident now. The first thing is, notice that these people were described with iman, because Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, فَقَدْ كَفَرْتُمْ بَعْدَ إِيمَانِكُمْ. Because you have disbelieved after your faith. This means that this group of people were not hypocrites to begin with. Right? So they weren't hypocrites already, because otherwise Allah Azza wa Jal would not have said about them, بَعْدَ إِيمَانِكُمْ, after your faith. Right? So He affirmed faith for them, because hypocrites are not believers in asal, in the foundation. So this shows to you the tremendous seriousness of the issue of mockery of the religion, or anything from the religion. And it is important for a Muslim to always have ta'zeem, to have veneration in his heart, and to respect the speech of Allah. And that anyone who belittles Allah, belittles His names, belittles His attributes, belittles His deen, then this person is a disbeliever. Likewise, the one who mocks and belittles the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or who belittles his sunnah, the same. This person disbelieves, because we are ordered to venerate, to have respect for the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to respect and venerate what we know to be authentically established to be from his statements and his deeds and his approvals and so on and so forth, and that we do not oppose his command or put anything in front of the command of the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, of the opinions of people and so on and so forth. Likewise, it is also important to respect the scholars, because if you look at what happened in this incident, this person, he was speaking about the reciters that we haven't seen amongst our companions, the reciters. He said al-Qurra. And al-Qurra here are no one else but the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So not only is it mocking Allah, mocking His signs, mocking His messenger, but they were intending the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, who are obviously the scholars. They are the ulama, they are the scholars who took knowledge from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So likewise included within this is to make mockery of the scholars, meaning the scholars who are the inheritors of the prophets, the scholars who are upon the way of the Sahaba, upon the way of the Salaf, upon the way of the Sunnah, to make mockery of them, because these are the people who have inherited this knowledge. They are the preservers of the Sharia. They learn and they convey the Sharia, they teach it to the people, and Allah Azza wa Jal has raised their station, has praised them in the Quran. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Indeed, those from Allah's servants fear Him, who are the scholars, the one with knowledge. And Allah raises those who have been given knowledge. So to mock them, likewise, it enters into this particular meaning. So, and the Shaykh makes that point. He says, because these people said, "Ma ra'ina mithla qurra'ana." We have not seen the likes of our reciters, mithla qurra'ina, our reciters, meaning the Messenger and his companions. So this word, it includes the scholars, because they recite the book, the speech of Allah, and they mention the speech of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. They teach the people what has been legislated for them. So they are the inheritors of the Sharia knowledge. So the verse includes all of these categories: Allah, His deen, His Messenger, the Sunnah, the ulama, who are the carriers of the religion. So this then leads us to basically say, as the Shaykh mentions here, that we have to show respect and veneration for a Muslim in general, because he, in the sense that he's not in the sense of his person, but in the sense of Islam, and particularly those who are in adherence, those who adhere. Because often it is the ones who are in adherence to the Sunnah who are the subject of mockery and ridicule, right? They'll be mocked for their beards, they'll be mocked for their clothing, they'll be mocked for the hijab, they'll be mocked for, for pursuing rewards which are mentioned in the Sharia. And so you see these people, they are the greatest to whom mockery and derision is directed towards. Why? Because they are carrying the symbols of Islam, so they are made fun of. Now also, as this incident indicates, a person who hears the mockery, even if he himself did not indulge in the mockery, but he sat there and he doesn't show any rejection, then this person carries the same sin. Why? Because in this incident we know that the man who spoke, the one who made the mockery, was just one man. And all the others, when the ayah was revealed, it did not speak about just one man. It was speaking about them in plural. It spoke about them in plural. وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ, if you were to ask them, لَيَقُولُنَّ, they will say, إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ, indeed we were just playing and jesting. And at the end, لَا تَعْتَذِرُوا, again plural, do not make excuses, O you group of people. فَقَدْ كَفَرْتُمْ, you as a group have disbelieved, بَعْدَ إِيمَانِكُمْ. So this shows that the one who is sat there listening does not show any rejection, then this person is just like them. And the Shaykh then continues by saying that this nullifier of Islam is something that is extremely, extremely dangerous, and it's something that we find in our times is frequent and abundant. We see it often in the form of saying that the deen of Islam is not befitting for this era, and the Sunnah, sticking to the Sunnah, is not befitting for this era, and because it's just people narrating stuff, really, it's just people narrating stuff. We don't know whether it's right or wrong, whether it's authentic or not, and they, make all these other types of evil statements. And likewise, they will often make mockery of the scholars of Islam, describe them as the scholars of women's impurities, the scholars of menstruation, the scholars of postnatal bleeding. Why? Because the scholars, they give the rulings of the Sharia to women on issues that concern women, right? And so they make mockery of these affairs and say these are the scholars of women's menstruation, or they say that these are the scholars of the pawns of the rulers, and they make mockery of the scholars and accuse them of being stooges for the rulers, and things of that nature. Or they mock the beard, or they mock the hijab, or they mock the siwak, right? All of this, or they call for the liberation of women and things like that, as they claim. So all of this emanating strangely from a people who actually ascribe to Islam, and this is from the great and dangerous affairs. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He prohibited us from sitting with the people who make mockery like this and who jest like this, and He ordered a Muslim to not sit with them. In fact, He said in an ayah that if you sit with people like that, إِنَّكُمْ إِذَنْ مِثْلُهُمْ, then indeed you would be like them. The full verse, this verse is in Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, verse 100 It's around 140, 145, I believe. وَقَدْ نَزَّلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الْكِتَابِ. It has already been revealed to you in the book. أَنْ إِذَا سَمِعْتُمْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ يُكْفَرُ بِهَا وَيُسْتَحْزَأُ بِهَا. That when you hear the signs of Allah are being disbelieved in and are being mocked, فَلَا تَقْعُدُوا مَعَهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ. Then do not sit with them until they move to a speech other than it. Then he said, إِنَّكُمْ إِذَنْ مِثْلُهُمْ. Otherwise you would be just like them. And this is a proof now that if you sit with a group of people mocking Islam, mocking the deen, mocking the sunnah, mocking the symbols of Islam, then, if you remain sitting with them and you know what they are doing, then you take the same ruling as them. You're just like them.
Is that a verse?
Surah An-Nisa 4, verse 140, 145, 140, around the area. Just mention the reference here. So, because you didn't show rejection against them, that basically means you are pleased with what they are doing, and you have now opposed this command in this ayah. And so you are guilty of the same thing with them because you are pleased in that gathering. And so sitting, and he mentions the hadith to give an illustration. Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir fala yajlis ala ma'idatin yudar aliha al-khamar. Whoever believes in Allah on the last day, let him not sit on a table in which alcohol is being circulated. Right? So obviously that means that if you sat there, you're condoning that evil. In a similar manner, if you sat here with mockery like this taking place, you are condoning that evil. So you are like those people. So to finish the Shaykh's commentary here, this naqid is extremely, extremely dangerous, and many people are actually ignorant of this. They are ignorant of